If you know much about the ministry of Jesus, then you know that he loved to go up to people and say to them, "Come, follow me." His was a program of do as I do rather than do as I say. I think that's the key, the essence of leadership. First, you know what it is you need to do. Second, you go out and do it. Third, you teach others how to do the same thing. And then fourth, you turn them loose to go out and do that sort of thing and to replicate the process. Hi, my name is David Lantz. You know, in thinking about Jesus, there is one question that rather intimidates me. And that's very simply the question, what would Jesus do? You see, I think I find that I get intimidated by that because Jesus was perfect, and I'm not. Oh, don't get me wrong, I want to have the mind of Christ. I want to think like Jesus. But in my own life, I've discovered that I learn more from my mistakes than I do from my successes. And Jesus just never made any mistakes. Fortunately for us, however, we can find people in the Bible who are like ourselves, or at least like me. People who made mistakes, people who wanted to think like Jesus, but knew that they had to learn life's leadership lessons in the wilderness crucible. And so that's one of the things that has always interested me in looking at that. Particularly one particular individual who learned life's lessons in the school of hard knocks, a guy by the name of Moses. I mean, think about it. Here's a guy who was the Prince of Egypt, and he probably spent his days being so full of himself as he built statues and monuments to honor himself. And then one day he ran away for 40 years to hide in the wilderness, where the only thing he led were sheep. And he wasn't even sure if he was leading the sheep very well. And then all of a sudden, God comes along and says, I want you to go back to Egypt. I want you to lead 2 million Israelites on an exodus out of Egypt. What must have gone through Moses' mind? Well, at one point in my career, I was the state director of the Indiana Christian Coalition. And because of that, I studied the life of Moses. And I realized that there were a lot of things that Moses had to first unlearn before he was ready to learn the things that God was teaching him. I boiled those lessons down into 10 leadership principles, and I wrote them in a book called Think Like Jesus, Lead Like Moses, Leadership Lessons from the Wilderness Crucible. And now in this course, I'd like to share those with you along with the mistakes that I feel that I made as I was trying to wrestle my way through that and learn the things that God was trying to teach me along the way. In addition to those video lessons, I'll also share questions for further reflection that you can think about and perhaps even use as conversation starters to talk with other people and maybe that study together as you wrestle with what God is teaching you in terms of how to be a leader in your own set of circumstances. So if that sounds interesting to you, why not go on to learn about the first principle, gain courage by trusting the Lord?